Jonglei State has been historically underdeveloped, and poverty has contributed to general underdevelopment and also the insecurity that is sort of endemic in the state. The impact of the long civil war with Khartoum meant that it had a lot of displacement, a lot of conflict. And the natural environment is also a challenge. Most of it is very low-lying, it's very swampy. So for 5 months of the year, there is essentially no movement possible over land. And for the rest of the year, there is great heat and everything is very dry. The livelihoods of most populations are related to cattle keeping or livestock keeping. And because there is very little veterinary provision, livestock pests and diseases are also very prevalent. We are not just a program that does emergency response or a program that does development or a program that does recovery. We operate across all of those spectrum, and depending what the context is, we can pivot from emergency to resilience to recovery to development.
We've been extremely fortunate to have flexibility on the part of the donor and not just us, because there have been times when we need to flip the switch and move from a development modality to something that's emergency. We do that with a phone call. The key lessons in Jonglei Food Security Program are have the right partner. Of course, that's not just the donor, but the community.
JFSP has never left their accompanying role with the communities. And they've accompanied the communities through these crises, not only December 2013, but since then, and have adjusted and had the flexibility to change programming to support now more transformational work.
There are a lot of people who are very interested in trying to better their own condition at community level. And people have not taken the view that outsiders are responsible for their development. Communities are very responsive to changes in traditional practices if this can be shown to give them better results. So one of the things the program has tried to do is demonstrate to farmers better ways of doing cultivation, better forms of seeds, and these have been accepted very quickly. The JFSP has taken the approach of working with the communities in groups. So for example, all our work with farmers and livestock keepers and fisheries have been done by forming groups. If you are doing an activity, you get much more results if you're working together with other people than if you're doing something individually. And what JFSP is trying to do is to transmit ideas and knowledge about improved technologies in managing livestock, doing agriculture, or doing fisheries. The Jonglei Food Security Program was the first development program that had been attempted here just after independence. Previous to that, all the assistance that had come in here had been relief assistance, essentially feeding people who were hungry. Our program was geared towards changing that and making people more independent and more responsible for their own welfare and their own futures. And what we sought to do from the beginning was to achieve behaviour change amongst communities and to explain to them that the program will give you a certain amount of support, but you also must put something into this yourself.
The Jonglei Food Security Program does what's called food for assets. So the community itself decides what they want. And it's usually a road, but it could be a dike, it could be a waterway, it could be rebuilding a school. So they carry out the work, and then after they finish a certain number of days of work, there's food distribution. But the beauty of it is, at the end of the day, there's an asset that benefits everybody in the community that remains after the program is over.
When CRS or JFSP leaves an area, the community's involvement means sustainability. It means continuous development of ideas and projects long after JFSP is gone. So that's why it's so important.
You can tell walking into a resilient community if it exists or not. There is a bounce in the step of the communities. The communities work and think and act differently. You know, there are components of it that help communities, mostly women's groups, learn how to save and lend money. That actually rebuilds their social fabric. There are aspects of it to boost production for farmers and also fishery folk. and it does boost their production. So you see these tangible results afterwards.
JFSP has tried to build food security and resilience by integrating all our program sectors. And the initial point of entry is the resilience programming, which enables the community to identify the most important things that it wants to work on for its own food security. And thereafter, we layer on other activities as the community sees the benefit of them.
And then what we do is we layer peace-building programs and trauma healing programs onto what we do in the Jonglei Food Security Program, because the communities are ready for it.
The beneficiaries for all the sectors are the same beneficiaries. And that has meant that the impact is maximised. We see real change in the community because they've had an intensified and integrated investment. The JFSP took the view from the beginning that we wanted to employ local staff in the area. So it was a big investment by JFSP to train and develop and mentor those staff. But the dividend is that those people are in the community, they stay in the community, they have credibility, and they can get things done.
CRS's focus and JFSP's focus on hiring local staff has allowed them to teach a generation of leaders in Jonglei State.
It's the people we have in place and the commitment of the communities where we work, because without them, it just wouldn't work at all.